At last, my useless, unemployed wife is gone. I can finally breathe again.
Now we don't have to hide anymore. We can finally be together in peace.
At last, my useless, unemployed wife is gone, Kabir said, his voice overflowing with relief. He laughed loudly, the kind of laugh a man releases when he believes a heavy burden has finally been lifted from his shoulders. I can finally breathe again. Standing close beside him, his lover smiled. Now we don't have to hide anymore, Nalia whispered happily. We can finally be together in peace. They spoke freely, carelessly, convinced that the woman lying silently before them was no longer part of the living world. They stood beside the hospital bed, dressed in mourning black, already discussing funeral arrangements with chilling calm, celebrating what they believed was Lahara's end. What neither of them knew was that in 28 days, the woman they thought was gone would rise, awake, aware, unbreakable, and ready to reclaim her life. While they celebrated, Zahara lay motionless on a narrow hospital bed, wrapped in crisp white sheets. Cold air brushed her skin. Machines hummed softly, breathing for her. Doctors had declared her to be in a deep coma, saying her chances of waking were painfully slim. Her family had already written her off as dead. But Zahara heard everything. She heard Kabir's laughter echo through the sterile room. She heard Nalia's excitement. She heard the scrape of a chair as they sat comfortably beside her, like guests attending a joyous occasion. Inside her mind, Zahara screamed. She tried to move her lips. She tried to lift her fingers. Her body betrayed her completely. She was trapped, alive, aware, imprisoned within herself. Kabir stepped closer and stared down at her face. So this is how your story ends, Kabir said coldly. All that cooking, all that cleaning, all that suffering you went through just to please me. He shook his head. You worked yourself to death trying to impress people who never cared. Nalia leaned into him and laughed softly. She was always desperate, as if being useful could make her lovable. They laughed, not loudly enough to alert the nurses, but cruelly enough to shatter a soul. Zahara remembered waking before sunrise every day. She remembered sleeping long after midnight. She remembered standing in the kitchen when her legs trembled from exhaustion. She remembered smiling through pain, telling herself again and again, just try harder. 3 years of marriage, 3 years of sacrifice, 3 years of insults disguised as expectations. Now she lay still as they discussed her life as if it had meant nothing. Kabir's mother entered the room, satisfaction written across her face. So it's finally happened, Mama Kabir said calmly. I warned her. A woman who does too much forgets her place. She clicked her tongue and stared at Zahara's still body. All that effort and she still failed. Failed. The word echoed violently inside Zahara's mind. The doctor had explained earlier that Zahara wasn't dead, just in a coma. There was still a slim chance she could wake up. Kabir dismissed him. Let's be honest, doctor. She's already gone. Something inside Zahara cracked. Nalia adjusted the blanket and said gently, she doesn't need all this care anymore. Let nature finish what exhaustion started. Then she leaned toward Kabir and whispered, so when do we plan the burial? They discussed her funeral while her heart was still beating, while her mind was fully alive, while she listened to every word. Inside, Zahara screamed, I am here. I can hear you. Why are you burying me while I'm still alive? But her lips never moved. Days passed. Morning light crept through the window. Nights arrived heavy with shadows. Machines breathed. Nurses whispered. Doctors spoke carefully. Kabir came often, never to hold her hand, never to speak with love. He mocked her instead. She had no dreams, Kabir said one day. Just a useless housewife. Nalia nodded. Some women think suffering gives them value. Mama Kabir visited less frequently, but her words lingered longer. She did this to herself, she said coldly. A woman shouldn't overwork for a family that's already complete. Zahara heard everything. She heard Kabir ask the doctor, "How long will she stay like this?" The doctor replied, 30 days. And after that, Kabir pressed, "The family decides." Decide? Zahara began counting days inside her mind. On the 12th day, their tone changed. Nalia came glowing with confidence. She looks peaceful, like she knows it's over. On the 18th day, Zahara made a silent promise to herself. I will not die. On the 21st day, her finger moved. On the 24th day, her eyes opened briefly. That night, she whispered to the doctor, "Don't tell them yet." On the 26th day, Zahara woke fully. On the 28th day, she left the hospital quietly. Outside her home, chairs were arranged. People dressed in black laughed loudly. They were preparing her funeral like a celebration. Kabir moved confidently, giving orders. Nalia laughed freely, already acting like the owner of everything. She would have liked this, Nalia said mockingly. Cheap, simple, just like her life. Zahara stepped in. A scream cut through the air. Kabir turned pale. "You're alive!" Mama Kabir dropped her cup. Kabir shouted, "Everything we prepared is wasted." Zahara said nothing. Her silence crushed them. She made one phone call. Minutes later, Kabir's phone rang, then another, then another. Contracts terminated, access revoked, accounts frozen. "I've been fired," Kabir whispered. Zahara straightened. "You thought I was weak. That was your mistake. I am a billionaire. I own companies, banks, factories. I chose a simple life to see if I would be loved without money." She looked at Kabir. "You celebrated my death. I'm done." She walked away. Months later, Kabir had nothing. Zahara had everything. Moral: people reveal their true character when they believe you are powerless. And when they celebrate your fall, they prepare the stage for their own.
Zahara, stop haunting me, I beg. Forgive me now, I beg.
I'm sure if she eat this food now, she go die.
Zara, please stop haunting me," Kabir screamed, clutching his head as he stood in the middle of a busy street. Confusion and terror filled his eyes. His shirt hung loosely on his thin frame, faded and wrinkled. His face looked worn, hollowed by sleepless nights. "I'm sorry," he shouted into open air. "I tried to bury you alive. Please, please forgive me." Cars slowed. Pedestrians stopped. Heads turned. Phones came out. Someone laughed quietly. Another whispered, "That's him, the man who tried to bury his wife alive. Look at him now." Kabir dropped to his knees, gripping his head with both hands. "Leave me alone," he yelled, at nothing. Because Zara was not there. She hadn't been there for months. Yet Kabir saw her everywhere. At the corner of the street, his body froze. In the reflection of a shop window, Zara stood behind him, calm, silent, watching. He screamed. His legs gave out and he collapsed onto the pavement. But this madness had not started that day. It began months earlier, the day Zara walked away from the funeral they had prepared for her. That first night, Kabir couldn't sleep. The house felt too quiet. No insults, no shouting, no footsteps, only silence. During the day, the world turned against him. People laughed openly. They pointed. Memes spread online. The man who celebrated his wife's death had become public entertainment. Kabir turned to alcohol. One bottle became two. Two became many. Mama Kabir watched him closely, bitterness hardening her face. "That woman came back from the dead to disgrace us," she said coldly. "She's enjoying our suffering." Meanwhile, Zara's life had moved forward. Her name appeared in business headlines. Her face appeared on screens. Strong, alive, untouchable. Each headline stabbed Kabir like poison. Fear became hatred. Hatred turned to desperation, and desperation gave birth to a plan. One night, Kabir and his mother sat close, speaking in hushed voices. "She survived once. She must not survive again," Mama Kabir said slowly. Kabir looked at her. His eyes were tired, broken, but something dark stirred inside them. That was the night they decided Zara had to be erased forever. They didn't know that the moment they made that decision, they were digging a grave, not for Zara, but for themselves. Sleep left the house. They whispered like criminals, unaware they were planning their own destruction. Kabir lay awake on a thin mattress in their small one-bedroom apartment, far from the mansion they once showed off proudly. No job, no money, only scraps of savings. By day, he stayed glued to his phone, watching Zara's interviews on repeat. Her voice, calm, controlled, confident. Each word felt like a slap. "She's acting like we never existed," Kabir muttered one afternoon. "She erased us. She took everything." Mama Kabir leaned closer, her voice sharp and low. "She wants peace. She wants to look clean. Then let's use that." They decided to weaponize fake remorse, to kneel, to beg, to pretend. "We invite her. We ask for closure," Kabir said. "She will come. Her kindness will always betray her." Behind the house, Mama Kabir unlocked an old storage room filled with dust and forgotten things. From inside an old metal pot, she pulled out a small glass bottle. Dark liquid, thick, deadly. "I kept this for years, just in case," she whispered. That night, Kabir watched her place the bottle into her bag. They laughed softly, not nervously, but with cruel satisfaction. "Just a few drops," Kabir said, "and she'll fall in front of us." The next day, Kabir sent the message. His fingers didn't shake. "Zara, I've been thinking about everything. I was wrong, deeply wrong. I don't expect forgiveness. I just want one calm conversation. No fights, no drama, just closure."
Zara read the message twice, not from fear, but from distance. She felt nothing, but she believed in closure, so she agreed. The following afternoon, Zara arrived. The neighborhood was narrow and worn. Cracked walls, rusted gates, houses pressed together like secrets. She stepped out of her car calmly. Simple dress, no guards, no makeup, untouched. Kabir froze when he opened the door. She stood before him, the woman he had buried alive. His smile came late and fake. Zara, thank you for coming. Mama Kabir smiled sweetly, though something dark burned behind her eyes. Inside, the smell of food filled the room. They spoke softly. Regret, forgiveness, lessons learned. Too soft, too perfect. Mama Kabir prepared the food. She poured the poison onto one plate. Her hands were steady. At the table, Kabir watched Zara closely. Please eat, he said. Zara glanced at the plates. Something felt wrong. When Kabir stood to wash his hands, Zara switched the plates, calmly, silently. They began eating. Kabir smiled until his face twisted. His hand trembled. Mother, he whispered. The spoon fell. He collapsed. Mama Kabir screamed. You didn't switch the plates, did you? She cried. Her voice broke. It was meant for you. I don't understand. How did it end up with my son? The truth filled the room like poison. You tried to kill me, Zara said quietly. Sirens wailed later that night. Kabir lay in a hospital bed, alive, barely. The doctor spoke carefully. He's in a deep coma. We don't know if he'll wake up. Mama Kabir collapsed. The same coma, the same one we mocked. Inside that bed, Kabir could hear everything. Helpless, trapped, just like Zara once was. Investigations followed. Mama Kabir was arrested for attempted murder. Handcuffs clicked. She screamed as they dragged her away. In her prison cell, guilt crushed her. The hospital bills piled up. And finally, she made the call. Zara, please don't hang up. My son is alone. He has no one. Zara listened in silence. Every laugh, every insult, every burial plan echoed back. Her heart stayed calm. The silence stretched long. Kabir's fate hung in balance. And Zara realized the final truth life had carved into her soul. The silence you prepare for others may be the prison you wake up in. Now we ask you, if you were Zara, what would you do? Would you help him or let him face the consequences? Comment below. Like, share, and subscribe. We love you.